Can you hear me? Does it sound like I'm coming through this microphone right here?
I hear you just fine.
Okay. All right, great. I just want to make sure it's not coming through my headphones.
Nope, you're good. Now you're making me want my very own microphone. Jeez.
Well, start a podcast and you'll be able to justify having one, I guess, right?
Yeah, I do better on video because I don't know, but maybe I need a microphone for my videos too. We'll see.
Yeah, you could. Depends on what you want.
Yeah. Okay. So tonight is May 2nd. Oh my gosh, May 2nd. I just got back from Punta Cana, so my days are running like I thought all day today was Monday. But today is May 2nd, and I'm super excited to go into May with Rob Dial talking to you guys tonight. I wanted to give you guys a little introduction of who he is and how I found him. So Jackie Walker and Jill Bodish actually preach every single day about this amazing podcast, how it always pumps them up. And I'm like, okay, you guys know me and I love my personal development. I love my podcast. So I went to check it out and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And so I reached out to Rob and I was like, hey, do you happen to talk on any team calls? And so I was very grateful and very honored that he took the time tonight to hop on with us. And before I started the recording, I let you guys know that I did reach out to some awesome leaders that are also Beachbody coaches, not a part of Unstoppable Misfits, but we still love them like they are. But I reached out and invited them because I think that it's all about spreading the love and inviting people to be a part of the family too. So welcome to everybody, whether you're an Unstoppable Misfit or not. You're here because you have a purpose and we all share the same purpose. So with that, I'm going to let Rob Dial take it away and tell us a little bit about himself and his little oh my gosh. See, it's Monday. It's not even Monday and I just need to take a nap. Rob, take it away.
So good. I appreciate you guys for all being here. I can see, I can see half of you because I have a big screen here. So by yeses or nos, have you guys listened to my podcast before? Oh my God, there's a lot of yeses. There's a few nos. I see some nos. There's a lot more yeses than nos though. So that's good. Okay. So keep doing it because I just switched the other screen. So let's see. Yes, no. Okay. Kenzie says no. Jessica says yes. I see yeses. Yes. Okay. So more yeses than nos. So, cool. There's also a chat box here too. Let me pull that up. Heck yes, I see. Yes, yes, no. Okay, cool. I'm going to keep the chat box open. So what I'll do is I'll probably talk for about 25, 30 minutes. Depends. If you listen to my podcasts, they're very short, but when I actually get into something, it's really hard to make me shut up, just so you guys know. So it might be 20 minutes, but I hope you guys have 2.5 hours just in case. It's not going to be that long. But then what I'll do is I'll open up. If you guys have any questions, I'll answer questions, and so we can dive into it, because what I'm going to teach you is not to build it up too much, but it's the most important thing you'll ever learn in your entire life. I am 100% positive of it, because whenever I teach to people and it clicks and they actually figure it out, it's kind of like a holy crap moment. I can't believe now I've got a lot of work to do on myself. But then also at the same time, it's very eye-opening of why you have, in many cases, you guys could probably agree, kind of self-sabotaged a lot your entire life, and whether you realize it or not. And so, if you don't know who I am, I've been a performance coach and speaker for 12 years. I started when I was 19. So I started when I was very young. So I'm very deep in the game for only being 31 years old, but I've been here for a long time. And in that time, I've coached thousands of people. I've coached NFL superstars that have, caught touchdowns in the Super Bowl and, just signed a $46 million contract, all the way up to people who are housewives. So everyone in between, college students, all in between. So it's been a lot of different people in the past, thousands of people in the past 12 years now. So, but what I'm going to teach you is, out of all of those things, the thing that I have found is the most life-changing for people. And, I love speaking with Beachbody people because I can talk to you because I understand exactly what you guys do. I understand your business. I know Beachbody people. I coach, I have many people that are in my group coaching program that are part of Beachbody. Like 25% of them probably are with Beachbody. So I know a lot of what you guys do. I've had a lot of conversations with Beachbody people, and I always hear the exact same thing almost every single time I talk to a Beachbody person, right? And it's something along the lines of this: Rob, I know what I need to do. I just can't figure out how to make myself do it, right? Like Beachbody's not something difficult. You know what you need to do, right? Can you guys all agree? It's like very much, it's in front of you. Like if you literally just put a ton of work in and do exactly what they tell you to do, it's pretty much like you could be successful, right? And I know some of the top coaches, many of the top 10 coaches, I know people that are brand new in between. And so I noticed the difference though is that the people who are in the top 10, they're doing what needs to be done even when they don't want to do it. And so I'm going to write something down for you guys so you guys can see it, because I did a brainstorming session with myself earlier today, which you can see completely took up this whiteboard that I have here. But I'm going to talk to you guys about your paradigm. So what I'm going to tell you is this. I'm going to write it down here so you guys can all see. People who listen to my podcast, have you heard me talk about a paradigm before? Does that sound familiar? I talk about it I've never really gone in depth in my podcast. And the reason why is because this talk I actually usually hold just for my group coaching and my one-on-one coaching clients. And then sometimes when I do Beachbody calls, I'll talk about it as well, because it seems to hit home with a lot of people. And so I'm going to jot all of these things down, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm putting. And then I'm going to dive into it. All right. So let me know, is this right side? It's not reversed, is it? Can you guys see this? It's good? Okay. So if you guys want to jot this down so I don't have to hold it up the whole time, because normally I have it on the board behind me, but I can't erase what I put up there. So you have your paradigm, right? Your paradigm feeds into your beliefs. Your beliefs feed into your actions. And your actions feed into your results. And then your results feed back into your paradigm. So it's just a big square here, big square, big circle, whichever one, it could be whichever way you want to set it up. But paradigm feeds into your belief feeds into your actions feed into your results feed into your paradigm. So here's the thing. If you've ever noticed that sometimes, and this is what I'm going to teach you, I promise you, if you can understand it, will completely change your life. But as a Beachbody coach, and people that you coach under you will completely change their lives, but it will also change the way that you coach them, because you can understand what's actually legitimately happening inside of somebody's brain and why they're doing something or not doing something. So you guys have probably heard the word paradigm, right? Paradigm shift, but most people don't even actually know what it is because it's not really taught. This should be a class in school, 100%, but people just don't understand the way that it works in most cases. So your paradigm is your programming. That's the easiest way to think of it. It is everything, all of the programming that's ever gone into everything that you've ever done. So it's most of the time it's set by your parents. Like 99% of the time it's set by your parents. And the easiest way to think of a paradigm is it is your worldview, right? Like for instance, if I were to, oh man, I don't have them. I thought I do have them. All right, perfect. So this is the example of a paradigm, right? This is what you want your world to look like, right? Nothing in front of you. You can't see it. But sometimes you have like these little yellow glasses, right? Where it's just, everything's tinted just a little bit yellow when I wear these. These are so you can, be on a computer late at night, right? So everything's a little bit yellow when I look at stuff, right? When I look at the screen, when I look at this screen, everything's a little bit yellow. That's what your paradigm is. It's like the screen that you view everything through. And so if I have a paradigm of most people, I'll let the cat out of the bag. Most people's paradigm is something along the lines, actually, no. Before I do that, I'm going to talk to you guys about your fears and show you how your paradigm is probably this. So I'm going to be very open, honest, vulnerable with you guys. I'm going to tell you stories that people probably would never tell about their past if they had a past like mine. But I'm going to do it. But in return, I'm going to have to make sure that you guys can at least be a little bit open and honest and vulnerable with me. Cool? So I want you guys over to the side in the chat box, and you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. What is your biggest fear in the entire world? And I don't mean the fear of spiders. I don't mean the fear of heights or anything like that. What is your biggest fear in the entire world? And type it over in the chat box. And I'm going to show you guys, it could be anything. And don't say the same thing just because of the fact that other people say it, but it could be anything. Whatever you feel is the main thing holding you back completely from everything that you do. So, okay. So they're coming through. They're coming through. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. So your paradigm is the lenses that you see the world on, right? It's the lenses that you see the world through. So let me go through these real quick. So we have, okay. So as I'm going through this, I'm going to just tell you guys real quick so you guys have an idea. 99% of people, I've dealt with thousands of people over the past 12 years, 99% of people, their paradigm is I am not enough, right? Their paradigm is I am not enough. And almost every single time if I ask, and I've done this hundreds of talks, tons of people I've talked to, tens of thousands of people I've talked to, I've only had maybe a couple times where I was like, I guess that doesn't really deal with I'm not enough. And so look, let me show you guys exactly what I'm talking about, right? You just put your fears up here. As you can see, I see it. Wow, I see it many times. Failure pops up a lot, right? Right? You guys can see that. The reason why failure is such a big fear of people, if you think about it, failure is because you don't think that you're enough to succeed, right? Do you see how I'm not enough? So failure is one of them. Failing my children is another one that's up here because you don't feel like you're enough to succeed for your children, right? Not being enough. Vicki, you hit it right on the head. Failing, fear of success. Why? This is another common one. People are like, why would you be afraid of success? A lot of people are afraid of success. Why? Because you feel like you're not enough to sustain it. Nothing is worse than getting up to the top and then falling all the way down, right? Fear of success. So that's a huge one. Why? Because you don't feel like you're enough to actually sustain the success, or you don't think that you're actually enough to deserve the success. Failing, not being successful, that's a fear of failure. And harassment. Why? Because you feel like you're not enough to actually be or does that say, oh, it says embarrassment, not harassment. Embarrassment, right? Because you feel like you're not enough to be accepted, right? A lot of people say fear of rejection, which is probably going to pop up if I don't come up to it. Fear of rejection because you feel like you're not enough to be accepted by people. Looking stupid because you feel like you're not enough to actually not look stupid, right? Failure. Not being successful at coaching. Well, that's because of the fact that you feel like you're not enough to actually succeed at it. Not living up to what my family expects of me. Do you guys see? Not being enough. Once again, never satisfied with getting things done in life the things done in life that I aspire to do, because you feel like you're not enough to actually get them done. Letting others down because you feel like you're not enough to actually be enough for them. Not being enough. Being poor, not having enough to live on because you feel like you're not enough to make money, right? Do you guys see how fear of rejection, fear of failure? Let me see if there's anything else I haven't done. Going through life and never truly believing in myself. Exactly. Fear of failure, criticism, failure, not living my life with purpose, settling because you feel like you're not enough to succeed, so you'd have to settle, being alone because you feel like you'll never be accepted by somebody, failing a spouse, a mother, a friend. So you guys see how all of those really come to one core belief of just not being enough? Do you guys see that? Now let me show you something else. Anytime, the reason why any job is hard, and the reason why the one thing that's hardest for you guys all to do, right? Every time I ask a Beachbody person, what's the hardest thing for you to do? It's always reaching out to people and getting more people to come up to your next program. Is it not? Yes. Yes. Guys, you guys see like I should be a Beachbody coach because I already know all of this. I don't need to be a Beachbody coach, but I know exactly what's going on. I've dealt with so many Beachbody people. The reason why it's so hard for you to reach out and try to get more people to come in and watch your next program is because you feel deep down inside that you're not enough in some sort of way, right? And when they say no to you, guess what that does? That shines a light. Literally, here we go. I'll show you a perfect example. It shines a light on your insecurity of you're not enough. That's what it does all the time. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. Shit, I don't want to do. Oh, so I probably shouldn't have cussed. Sorry, I don't know.
Oh, no, you're fine. They're used to it with
okay.
me.
All right, sorry. So I just like literally just, it flew out of me there. So it's what it's doing is it's showing you your insecurities. That's why it's so hard when you're a sales rep to make phone calls, right? Because you just know somebody's eventually going to hang up on you or cut you out or do any of those things. And so this is the way that I kind of think about it. And then I'll tell you exactly what a paradigm is. Do you guys remember when you were in school and you used to do those like clearly you could see I still like to brainstorm. This was earlier today, but you guys remember how you used to do little brainstorming things and it was like you'd have little bubbles coming out of one bigger bubble? This is the way I think of paradigms is this. You have one big paradigm And that's that I'm not enough. That's the core. And then you have little teeny tiny ones that kind of pop up. The fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of, everybody has some sort of paradigm around money. If you're not making the money that you want to, it's probably because of the fact you have some sort of paradigm around money. But the center of it is almost always 99.9% of the time, I am not enough. Right? So let me talk to you guys about exactly how this works. And just so you guys know, so when I said I'll be open, honest, and vulnerable, I'll tell you my story and why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I'm trying to teach this to millions of people and get my message out to as many people as possible. And literally every extra dollar that comes into my company is going back into advertising to make sure that my platforms continue to grow so I can continue teaching this to more people, because once I teach it to people, it's like it clicks and they're like, holy crap, I'm like reborn the next day when I wake up and I understand how this works. And so here's the way that you have to think about it, okay? My whole paradigm was, and the way this really clicked for me one day was I was explaining it and it kind of clicked as I was giving a talk, and I didn't mean to say it, but it just kind of flew out of my mouth and I was like, oh my God, that was the truth. I literally just figured this all out. So my story, if you don't know it, if you do listen to my podcast, you probably heard it before. So when I was 9, my parents got divorced. When I was 9 or 10, they got divorced because my father was an alcoholic. When I was 15 years old, my father passed away from being an alcoholic. He was the very first person I ever met in my entire life who passed away. He passed away before anybody else, before my grandparents, before any animals, any of those things, right? So it was a pretty traumatic experience for me. But even before then, there was a lot of trauma because, he never beat me. He never was, psychologically down or anything like that, but he was just very absent, right? And so the way it kind of clicked in my head of what my paradigm was there was times where my dad wouldn't show up to baseball games when he was supposed to pick me up. And I, would sit outside for 2 hours and I was 9 years old and I was all by myself in the middle of the night. There were times when he was supposed to pick me up to go fishing and he'd never show up. And then he'd always, we'd find him and he was at one of the bars down the street and all of those things. And so in my little kid brain, I think I just justified it as I'll never be enough to be better than alcohol, right? Like in my father's eyes, I can never be good enough or better than alcohol. He loves alcohol more than he loves me. Now that I'm older and I've been able to look back at it with mature eyes, I know that that's not true, but that doesn't mean that story didn't play in my head millions of times as I was a kid, right? So you guys see how that makes sense. So let me show you how my paradigm went into this, right? So if you guys look at this, and this is how it works. So if you look at it, my paradigm and your paradigm is probably something along the lines of I'm not enough. So I'll use myself as an example because it's a lot easier too. And you guys all have different upbringings, different things. My paradigm was that I'm not enough, right? And so when I get into a job, like the way I was, have you guys ever heard of Cutco knives? Yes? No? Okay. Some of you guys are laughing, right? I sold Cutco knives for 6 years, right? I was one of the most successful managers that they've ever had, but I sucked at it when I was first there. And the reason why was because the fact that my paradigm was that I'm not enough. And so I had to do things, and this is why the reason why I bring up Cutco is because it deals directly with Beachbody as well. Because Beachbody is not easy, but it's rewarding, right? That's why you're here. It's not, if it was easy, honestly, you probably wouldn't be here because you'd be so rich that you don't even need to hear what I'm saying, right? And so you have me, my paradigm was that I'm not enough. And let me show you why if you're not getting the results that you want to in Beachbody, this is the exact reason why. If you're not getting the money that you want to, if you're not getting the results that you want to in relationships, in anything that you're doing, this is the reason why. So my paradigm was that I'm not enough, right? And so this is your subconscious mind. Let me tell you the difference between your subconscious and your conscious real quick. Your subconscious mind, and FYI, this is not some woo-woo-y bullcrap like, hey, let's meditate, and I'm going to tell you some stuff about my chakras. Like, this is legitimate brain neuroscience, which I am obsessed with, right? There is your subconscious mind, your subconscious, and this is basically your conscious, right? Your subconscious controls 95% of what you do throughout the day. They also call it your automatic brain. And it just immediately reacts to something. Have you guys ever do something throughout the day and you're like, why the hell did I just say that? Why did I just judge that person? Why did I just have an outburst? Why is it? Automatic. It's an automatic neurological response that's based on your subconscious, right? That's the reason why. So this is your subconscious. This is why most people, you guys have all heard of beliefs. Oh, I don't believe in myself. I want to believe in myself more, but you're not going to unless you can figure out your paradigm. So your paradigm is your subconscious mind of I'm not enough. And that feeds into your beliefs, right? Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if Cutco's for me. I don't know if Beachbody's for me. I don't know if I'm cut out to do this. I really want to succeed at it, but I just don't know if I can do it because I thought I would have been good at it, right? And so it's like, this is how it works. Your subconscious is I'm not enough. Your belief is something along the lines of I'm not enough, fear of failure, the fear of success, all of those, right? If you don't 100% believe in yourself, right? If you don't have the belief that you can do it, what type of actions are you going to take towards your goal? Are you going to take a lot of action or are you going to take a very little amount of action? You're going to take a little amount of action, right? And if you take a little amount of action, what type of results are you going to get? You're going to get very little results. And then that's going to feed back into your paradigm and you're going to say, see, I'm not good enough. See, I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not fit enough. I'm not losing the weight that I thought I could lose with this. I'm not good enough to teach other people how to do this, right? And it's a vicious circle. It's a slippery slope. So it feeds back into your paradigm over and over again. And so this is a story that you continue to tell yourself all the time over and over and over again, some form of I'm not enough, right? And so when you can figure out exactly how this works, you can kind of hack it. And so FYI, let me tell you another way. This is my paradigm. I had a crazy paradigm around money just because of the fact that we were very poor when I was growing up. My parents had literally no money. We got rejected for food stamps because of the fact that my mom had a car. So she got a job at the grocery store so we could get food as it was expiring. So like we didn't have money. Like that's safe to say that, right? I remember 9 or 10 years old, I went to a women's shelter with my mom and that's where I got my Christmas presents. Like I was very cognizant of what was going on. So I heard we don't have money all the time. We never one time in my life went on a family vacation. We never did any of those things. I was very aware that we didn't have money. And so therefore I had a terrible paradigm around money, right? And so you guys probably can understand this and I'll talk about it more. But so my belief was, money's hard to come by. Money, you have to screw people over to get money. Money's the root of all evil. And if that's my paradigm, and that's my subconscious, it's going to feed into my belief, right? And if I don't believe very much in the money and the fact that I have to screw people over, the fact that evil people have money or money's the root of all evil, what type of action am I going to take to make money? Very little action. If I take very little action to make money, what type of results am I going to get? I'm going to get very little results, right? And then it's going to feed back into my paradigm and say, see, you're not evil, so therefore you shouldn't make money because evil people have money, or money, you have to work really hard, or you don't deserve it, or something like that. And so let me show you guys something and kind of how this works. Your paradigm works in this way. Okay. If you go up to your thermostat right now and you set it at 70 degrees, right? And this should be very eye-opening for a lot of you guys because it could click at this point in time, right? If you go and set your thermostat at 70 degrees, no matter what happens, your thermostat, your temperature is going to stay at 72, right? So, if it's set at 70 degrees and it gets really warm in your house and it starts to go up to 72, what's going to happen? There's an electronic mechanism that's inside of your thermostat that's going to click it on and it's going to turn the AC on and pull it back to 70 degrees, right? Now, if it starts to get colder and it gets to 68, what's going to happen? There's the internal mechanism. Electronic mechanism is going to click on, it's going to put the heat on, it's going to put it back to 70, right? So let me ask you guys this question. Have you ever been at the point before, maybe it's in Beachbody, maybe it's something else, where you set a goal and you know your goal and then you look back a couple weeks later and you're like, holy crap, or like a week later, a few days later, you're like, holy crap, like I'm doing good. Like I could hit this goal. I might even surpass this goal, right? And you get excited because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to break the goals. I'm going to do better than I thought I was going to do. And then you get to the end where your goal's supposed to be hit and you're like, what the hell happened? Like I didn't even come close to it. Has anybody ever had something like this happen before? Right? What is that? Self-sabotage, right? You self-sabotage. Why? Because your 70 degrees is where you're comfortable, right? Your 70 degrees is where you've been your entire life. And so what happens if you start becoming more successful than what your paradigm knows that you should be at, what's going to happen? Your internal mechanism in your brain is going to click on and say, no, shut it down. And it's going to pull you back down here. Now, why does it do this? Well, there's actually neurological reasons of why it does this, okay? And if you don't know who I am, I'm a freaking brain geek. Like I love learning about this stuff. I love learning about all the chemicals that run through your brain, all of these things. But let me bring it back to you so it makes a lot of sense. So 50,000 years ago, right? If we were cavemen and cavewomen, we're sitting in a cave and it was dark and we had to go out of the cave to go get something. you would get a fear in the pit of your stomach of, holy crap, I have to go get something. I don't know what is out there, right? You'd have that fear in the pit of your stomach. That pit of your stomach fear, that part of our brain still exists in our brains. We don't have anything that's immediate danger. Like, I'm not going to walk out of my office and get attacked by a cougar, right? Like, that's not going to happen. We all know that's not going to happen. But our brain does one thing and one thing only. It keeps you alive and it keeps you safe. And that's all it's designed to do. So that's why we have comfort zones. That's why we have paradigms that keep us at 70 degrees. It's because it's designed to do one thing and one thing only. Not to make you happy, not to make you successful, not to do any of those things. It doesn't care how much money you make. It just cares that you continue breathing. That's all that it does, right? And so right? You guys all know that if you start making more money, right? If you're only making $3,000 a month, that if you start making $5,000, you're not going to die, right? You guys all know this? I hope so, right? If you make an extra $2,000 a month, I promise you, you won't die. But your brain doesn't know that if you go outside of this comfort zone, outside of this cave, right, that you're not going to die. And so your brain says, hey, listen, you're alive where you are. Let's keep it here. Let's chill out. Let's stay here. And so that's why you have the internal mechanism. So the internal mechanism is the shut it down mechanism, right? Where it's like, hey, shut it down. Exactly like if it's starting to go up to 72, what's going to happen? There's an internal mechanism inside of your thermostat that's going to click on the AC to pull it back down to 70 degrees. It's the exact same thing that happens. And that's why you self-sabotage over and over and over again. Now, let me ask you this question. Have you ever gotten to the point before where you're doing way worse? Like, you're not going to pay the bills and you get I like to call it the OSM. It's the oh shit moment. Like, oh God, I got to step it up, right? And you like pedal to the metal and you do exactly what needs to be done in order to pay the bills, right? That's the 68 going to 70 where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to do exactly what needs to be done. And you just hit the gas and you go to 70 degrees. This is how a paradigm works. And so what you have to realize, and the reason why I put these glasses on is because if this is what you want to be like, right? Clear, you can see everything in the world. But I'll take a step back and I'm going to ask you as a question that's going to make sense in this. And I always ask this question. If I were to ask you right now, if I were to say, I do this when I give live talks. I'm not going to give you guys this time because we don't have enough time to do it, but I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes, right? I want you to have as much fun as you possibly can with this. Write down every single flaw. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do this. Ready? Every big, massive, crazy failure, right? Like you've ever had in your entire life. Just write it down. Whether it's like you failed in 3rd grade and you made a mistake and whatever it is, write it, just 30 seconds. Jot down every single teeny tiny failure that you could possibly think of as if the person who has the most is going to win a prize, right? Write down every single teeny tiny failure, everything that you hate about yourself, every flaw. Go through, start right now. Go.
And you just want them to write it down on a piece of paper, not in chat?
Yep, just write it. No, don't write it in chat. Just write it down on a piece of paper. Okay. So that was, you got 20 seconds left. Every time you've ever failed, most embarrassing moments of your life, all of the times you screwed up, times where you realize that whatever it is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. So next what we're going to do is this, okay? So count up how many things you have there, right? And put it over into the comment box real quick. I'm just curious. Who had the biggest, the most things, just failures, just ultimate failures, all the times you screwed up, your flaws, things you don't like about yourself, everything. 12, Jamie Hernandez. All right, so we got 9. Few of them. All right. Now what I want you to do is think of every single time that you've been on top of the world and you've been the most awesome person you could think of. Every huge thing that you've ever done, right? Anything amazing, go. Every huge accomplishment. Times where you were #1 sales rep or #1 in Beachbody. You got 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, stop. Let me ask you this. By yeses or nos, did you have more things on the failure list than the positive list? Yes? A couple of you said no, which is good, but I see more yeses. So more yeses than anything else, right? Why? Because of this. Look at, there's a couple of you that said no. There's a lot of yeses. You had a lot more failures and times that you completely effed up than times that you have succeeded, right? So what does that tell you? You guys all have paradigm glasses on, right? I'm not enough. If my glasses say I'm not enough, I'm not going to see everything around me that shows me how amazing I am, right? I'm going to see every single time that I've screwed up. And when I do something right, it's immediately going to say, hey, yeah, but remember that one time that you really screwed this up? Does this make sense to you guys? Is it clicking? So what you're doing is your worldview, your glasses, everything that you see the world in is I am not enough. Oh, I'm not enough in this way. I'm not enough in this way. I'm not enough in this way. And that's all that you see all of the time. It's a tint that you see your worldview from. And so when you're trying to become successful at something, it's very hard if your paradigm is screwed up because of the fact that you can't see past all of your flaws and all of the ways that you have failed, all of the ways that you've screwed up, right? And this is like, in my personal opinion, especially with social media, especially with everything, advertising, all of these things, I think it's an epidemic where nobody believes in themselves. And the reason why is because we're really taught not to believe in ourselves from the beginning. And so it's something that you have to take time to try to reverse. Now, you're going to be asking, all right, well, now that you've scared the crap out of me, can you at least give me some sort of idea of how to reverse this, right? Because I don't want to just scare the crap out of you and be like, all right, guys, see you later. I'm gone, right? Because you're going to be like, oh, now I'm really screwed up. I thought I was screwed up before. Now I'm super screwed up because my paradigm's screwed up. So here's what the long story short. Your paradigm, 99% of the time, is going to come from your parents. Why? Because your parents, 0 to 6 years old, is what's called your pre-verbal years. And, you know, even if you have amazing parents, like awesome parents, they still probably don't have a psychology degree, so they screwed you up in some sort of way on accident, right? Like that's just the way that it works. And the reason why is, and you're all thinking this, for those of you that are parents out there, you're all thinking, oh crap, so that means that I'm making my children's paradigm, right? So now you really see the value in understanding this paradigm thing, because you realize, FYI, why do I think this is not scientifically proven? This is the correlation, but with me doing all of like the research, everything that I learned, I'm like, I think I kind of have an idea of why people have such terrible paradigms if I'm not enough. And I think the main reason why is because as amazing as your kids are, there's still sometimes they completely screw up. And I'll take it to this. My sister has 4 amazing kids, like the best kids ever, but there's still sometimes they do something and I'm like, what the hell? Like my nephew who's 5 years old was cuddling on the couch the other day and peed on my mom's brand new pillow. Like literally she bought it that day. And so like, he just didn't want to get up. Like it's just, and the reason why is because here's the deal. Our prefrontal lobes, which is all of your inhibitions, every good making decision that you have. Like I did stuff when I was 18 years old that I'm like, I would never go skateboarding behind a car at 40 miles an hour again, right? I wouldn't do that, but I wasn't, like my prefrontal cortex, like all of that stuff, my frontal lobe was just not developed at that point in time. Now, when they're even younger, I want you guys to realize this, and don't take this the wrong way, but this is just to kind of give you a punch to understand how this works. Most people raise their kids the same way that they train a dog. Ready? I know. I saw this. Look at all the eyebrows that just went up, right? I could see you guys, which is the best part about this. The average child, and this is not me making the statistics up, the average child is reprimanded 8 times more than they are praised, right? So that means the average child thinks I am not enough 8 times more than they think that I'm enough. So do you guys see how this correlates? So even if your parents are amazing, they still could have screwed up in certain ways. So that's what you have to realize. So you have that first off, and then what do you have after that? Then you go into school, right? And kids in school are POSs, right? They make fun of you. You can't do anything right. All of these things. There's bullies. There's all of those things. Then you get older. And then ladies, you have to put on makeup because you have to cover up all of the flaws, right? And then you can't leave the house without makeup. And that's the way that you see it on the advertisements. And then you see advertisements. The advertisements tell you that you're not enough, right? And you're not enough because you don't own our product. And when you do buy our product, guess what? Maybe you'll feel like you're enough. Then you get older and you're like, oh, I got to buy a house because I'm not enough to buy a house. I got to get married. I have to have kids. I have to do these things. And you're constantly fed the fact that you're not enough. Subconsciously, you don't even really realize it until it's brought to the surface like this, right? So I got to go. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So here, let me tell you how to fix it. So here's the way that it goes. I honestly don't think, no matter, I know if, let's see, I see a lot of women on here. I don't know if there's any men on here. So
my boyfriend's on here.
Okay, your boyfriend's on here. Most of you are women though. So there's a lot of mothers. So no matter how great of a mother you are, every single mother always thinks that they are the worst mother in the world because you're so freaking hard on yourself. So number one, no matter how good of a parent you are, your kids are always going to, that's just the way that the world works. Even if you make them have a perfect paradigm, they're still going to get out into the real world. It's going to be really hard to make it not be enough, to make them feel like they're not enough. But you can, at least now that you understand this, help change their paradigm as they're starting to grow up. So for you personally, and you can start to figure out about your kids later on down the road, but for you personally, you ask yourself these questions. If you're not sure of your paradigm, if you're trying to figure out where it came from, all of those things, ask yourself this question: what is my paradigm? Right? And this can be done homework after, as you guys kind of sit down. If I could give one person, or if I could give every single person one skill, it would be self-awareness, right? The way that you become super self-aware is you get a pen and paper and you write down whatever's going through your mind and ask yourself questions every single morning, and you will learn more about yourself than you ever will going through any therapy session, right? I have people in my group coaching where I teach them how to journal, exactly the way to journal, and then visualize and do those things. And they're like, Rob, just by doing that, I learned more about myself in the past couple of weeks than I did for 3 years of mandatory therapy that I had to go through, right? And it's just because you're able to go through your own head. And so you ask yourself these questions. Number one, what is my paradigm? Number two, where did it come from? Right? Was it your mom? Was it your dad? Was it growing up as a kid? Was it failing classes? So what is your paradigm? Where did it come from? How was it reinforced throughout your life? Right? So it might have been accidentally put in, even though your parents could have been amazing. They might have accidentally given you some sort of, you're not enough, right? And then what could have happened? You could have gotten into school. You could have failed your first math test when you were in first grade. And then you're like, I'm stupid. And that's why you failed math tests the rest of your entire life, right? Which is why I hate our educational system, because I think it's completely screwed up, where a kid can fail a test. They think they're bad at math. And then guess what? They're bad at math their entire life because they have that paradigm set in their ways from 6 years old, right? How is it reinforced? Other ways, whether it was you had in high school, you had a terrible friend that did this to you, and all of these different ways where it could be reinforced. Now, if you're struggling to figure out what your paradigm is, let me give you some questions to help you figure that out. And if you want to know more about your paradigm, you can still jot these down. When you were a child, think about this question: whose love did you crave more? Your mother's love or your father's love? So as a child, whose love did you crave more? Was it your mother's love or was it your father's love? Most of the time, but not all of the time, a female will crave her father's love. A male will crave their mother's love. Mine was different. I craved my father's love because of the fact that he just wasn't around, right? There was nothing I could have done. Angie says, I'm going to cry. I already know the answer to these. Jamie says, what if it's both? Good question. Usually there's one that you have a strong tie to, where you just could not be enough for them in some sort of way. And so you have to ask yourself this question: whose love did I crave? Right? And you try to figure it out. And then you ask yourself this question: what did I have to do, or who did I have to be in order to get it? What did I have to do, or who did I have to be in order to get it? So I can see the wheels are already starting to turn by looking at faces, right? It's like, oh, I'm starting to understand this. It's starting to make sense. And so what happens is, I'll give you examples. Like, I have a lot of people that I speak with who like I'll give you a perfect example. Usually people, not every time, but a lot of times if somebody has a parent, a father or mother that is in the military, they have the paradigm of I'm not enough. And the reason why is because literally there's almost nothing you can do to be enough. And the reason why is because they treat their children like they're treated in boot camp. Oh, you got an A? Why didn't you get an A plus? Right? They want you to be better, but they don't realize that they're constantly just saying you're not enough to me to their children without realizing it. Right? Also, a lot of people I find who have parents of Asian descent, it's the exact same way. So it's just kind of the way that it works. Korean says, could it be siblings? Probably not, because what you're talking about are primary attachment figures, which this is a whole other conversation. Primary attachment figures, mother, father, and then after you get married, what you'll start to notice is that however you acted with your mother or father is the exact same way you're going to act with your husband or wife. Because it's primary attachment figures. Your primary attachment figure, husband or wife, and you guys are smiling because you're like, oh shit, that's right. I do treat my husband the same way that I treat my parents. Like my mom pisses me off so quickly, and then my husband pisses me off so quickly, right? It's like, oh yeah. And the reason why is because a primary attachment figure is somebody who steps in and becomes your proxy parents, right? And that's kind of the way that it works out. So siblings, probably not going to get it from siblings, but your siblings, Corinne, to answer your question, we're probably reinforcing whatever you were able to get, right? And so you have to think of it that way. So then what you do is you literally, this is something where it's like, I cannot help you past this point because this is all you from now on, right? You got to figure out and this is like, obviously this has been about 45 minutes. I told you I'd go way over. It's just the way it happens every time. I literally have this as a group coaching lesson. It's an hour and a half long because there's so much stuff that you have to go into. And there's so much that could keep going into it. But at this point in time, it's like, you have to work on it yourself. You have to take a pen and paper and you have to realize, I could see by some of your faces, some of you already started crying, right? Which is scary because of the fact that you're now realizing, holy crap, if I'm going to go through this, I have to literally go to some dark places that I've been trying to hide away from and I don't really want to visit. Right? Tracy says, what if you didn't have a mother, but you had grandparents? That's pretty much the same thing, Tracy. So that would be a primary attachment figure, the person who raised you to who you are. So that would be the same thing. And so you have to think of it that way. But also, Tracy, another way to think about it is if your parents weren't there, then you could have automatically had the paradigm of I'm not enough because my parents aren't here. Like, I don't know. I'm not, that would just be a guess. It could possibly be that. And then Chelsea says, what if you never got it from the person that you crave love from? Well, then that right there will show you exactly where your I'm not enough came from. Like I couldn't, I'm the perfect example of that. I could never be enough for my father because he was addicted to drinking alcohol, right? There's nothing that I could have done in order to overcome that. So it's the same thing for you. If you never got it, well, then it was bashed into your head that I'm not enough. And so what you have to ask yourself is, what's my paradigm? Where did it come from? How is it reinforced, right? And then what you try to say is, what do I do throughout my day? What habits do I have that make me line up with my paradigm all the time? If your paradigm is I'm not enough, I'll give you examples. And this is why I like to figure out the way the brain works, because if you can figure out the way the brain works and how it holds you back, you can figure out how to hack your brain in order to be successful, right? It's my personal opinion. That's how I get paid. So I hope that's right, because it's been working for a while now. So the reason why is because you have to ask yourself, okay, well then how do I hold myself back in these ways? Okay. So an example would be this, right? If I feel like I'm not enough, my paradigm wants to keep me at 70 degrees, right? Because it doesn't know that if I get to 72, it doesn't know that if I start making $100,000 a year, if you've never made that much and that's your goal, let's say your goal is to make $100,000 a year. Your brain doesn't know, that animal part of your brain does not know that you won't die when you get to $100,000 a year. You guys all know that you're like, oh my God, I will definitely not die. I will live even more than I've ever lived if I make 100,000, right? Like all of you are thinking that in your head, but that animal part of your brain doesn't know that once you step out of that comfort zone and do things that you have never done before, that you won't die, right? It's just like jumping out of a plane, right? It's that same feeling, that gut feeling. And that's why it's a legitimate fear that's deep to your core, where it's like, you guys know what I'm talking about, where you get that fear of doing something and it's crippling, right? Same thing as if you were about to get pushed out of a plane and you're afraid of heights, you're going to jerk back. That's just a reaction to jerk back. But here's the best part. So Now some of you guys are like, all right, so then what do I do with this paradigm circle, right? Here's the best part. And if you listen to my podcast, you may have heard me do this before. So you have your paradigm, subconscious. This is your conscious mind, your belief. This is your action. This is your results. You don't have to believe in yourself in order to do something. That's the best part, right? You don't have to believe in yourself. And so what do? You take this paradigm circle, you cross out the belief part, and you just replace it with willpower. You can't change your paradigm immediately, right? You replace the belief with willpower. You listen to my words, and you can do whatever. You can tattoo this on your forehead if you want to. You do not have to believe in yourself in order to do something, right? You don't. So therefore, think about it this way. If your paradigm is, I'm not enough. All right, well, I'm not enough, but doesn't mean that I can't get up and actually do stuff every single day that I know will make me successful, right? What do? You find the most successful Beachbody person that you know, you say, what do you do? And you literally just do exactly what they're doing every single day for 6 months. You'd be like, holy crap, look at how much money I'm making, right? You don't have to believe in yourself. So, right, you put in the willpower, which is the actions. If you put in the actions that all of the other successful people are doing, guess what type of results you're going to get? You're going to get the results that you want. And guess what? That's going to feed into your paradigm. And the difference between a paradigm and a thermostat is this. You can change your paradigm. The way you change your paradigm are two different ways. Ready? This is the secret sauce. Repetition and results. Repetition, results, repetition, results, repetition, results. Your paradigm will start to change. Your self-belief will start to change is another way of saying it. If you get better results than you ever have, you will start going, oh, damn, maybe I am pretty good at this. Maybe I actually can make $100,000 this year. Maybe I can be the mother I always wanted to be, whatever it is. And once again, the thing about this is I'm talking a lot about Beachbody and success and money, but this could be correlated to anything. Relationships, being a great mother, being a great sister, daughter, whatever it is you want to be. So you have to think about it. And so, so Marty, I want to call you out on something, and don't take this the wrong way, Marty, because I don't even know where Marty is. I can't see your names on the screen. Here's the other thing. So when I say repetition and results, repetition is the way you speak to yourself in your head, right? The reason why your paradigm is also that I'm not enough is because you're telling yourself over and over and over again, all of the ways that you've effed up your entire life and how terrible you actually are. You are the one holding yourself back more than anything that your parents have ever done. Okay? The way that you talk to yourself in your head, you never speak to somebody that you love the way that you speak to yourself in your own head, right? You would never speak to yourself. You would never speak to your children the way that you speak to yourself in your own head, right? You are self-sabotaging yourself. So but the reason why, Marty, I have to call you out real quick is because you have to be very cognizant of the words that when I do coaching with people, I listen to every single word that they say, because if you listen to the words that somebody says, it's going to tell you exactly what's going on in their brain, right? Marty says the hardest part is just doing it, right? Just doing what? Making calls, getting people to sign up for your program, right? That's the hardest part. That's not hard. Right? Hard should never be a word used in your vocabulary to do anything that you do if you live in America. Right? You know what's hard? Being a 7-year-old killed in Syria whose parents just got murdered by ISIS. That's hard. Don't tell me that just getting people to sign up for your stupid program is hard. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call it stupid. I know it's a great program. I'm just saying, think of it in the way that you should think of it, right? It's not hard. It's just you need to push yourself to do it. Right? Like, put your life into perspective, right? What do we have? We have lights. We're on the internet. You guys could see me. We have technology, right? Some kid, I guarantee you, doesn't know where his family is right now. And it's hard. It's hard for you to reach out to people over the internet. That's bullshit. And we all know it's bullshit, right? Be cognizant of the words that you use, because the words you use make the reality that you have. And so you have to think of it that way. So Marty, I still love you. I didn't mean to come down to you like that, but I had to put it in perspective. I had to do that one time in my group coaching because someone was like, oh, it's just hard. And I was like, don't Don't say the word hard ever. It's not hard. It's just a little bit more challenging than what you're used to, right? Because the words you say, everything that you do is going to dictate the reality that you have. So,
Rob, can I add on something real quick?
For sure.
So my girls on here know that I'm all about I am statements. Like I preach about it on every damn team call. Mm-hmm. And because exactly what you said, the more you tell yourself something, the more you believe it, whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
And so on here, like I see a lot of them like, well, I say I believe in myself, and I say I'm fucking amazing, and I say this, and see, what did I say? There you say. But so I know that feeling, but then I also know when we say this to ourselves, a lot of the times when we're starting to write I am statements, or maybe we've written them for so long, but we look at them again and we're like, but do I actually believe this? Like, is this, like Corinne said, one of the questions she said was, doesn't this make me a fraud? If I'm saying all these things and I don't really believe it in myself, does that make me a fraud?
So here's the deal. It's not that you don't believe it, because you all know consciously that you are great people, right? It's that your paradigm is actually the problem. This is why and this is why I'm saying if you can understand the way this works, you can also affect all the people that you coach, is because you're dealing with weight loss, right? Has anybody ever lost weight and then gained all of it back? Why? Because your paradigm, you're lining up with the person that's in your head. And so it's repetition. I was a very negative person for a very long time until I realized this. I read a book called As a Man Thinketh. It's a super short book, but he says in the book that your mind is a garden. You're the only person that can tend to this garden, right? You cannot be a gardener, plant strawberry seeds in your garden, take care of that garden, and expect that tomatoes are going to grow. It's impossible, right? It's impossible to put strawberry seeds in the ground and tomatoes to grow. It is impossible to be a negative person and expect that positive things are going to happen in your life. It will not happen. Negativity attracts other negative people, negative things, right? When you're positive, positive things start to happen. And so are you a fraud? No. But what you're doing is you're actually trying to reverse the story that you've been telling yourself your entire life. So the book is, yes, there you go, As a Man Thinketh. So you're not a fraud. You feel like a fraud because of the fact that you haven't been able to get the results yet, right? Like I didn't think that when I was 19 years old that I could train 2,000 people to sell over $5.6 million in knives in people's houses, right? But it ended up happening just because I just put in the work. And then I started believing myself. If I put in the work, I start getting results, and the results are a little bit better. And this is the way that it works. This is the difference between a thermostat and a paradigm, right? If your paradigm is 70 degrees, right? 70 degrees, but you start getting results that are better than you've ever gotten, 72 degrees, 72 degrees, 72 degrees, 72 degrees, over and over again, results, your paradigm's got to go, all right, I guess you're a little bit better than I thought you were. And it's got to move up a little bit. All right, I'll stay at 71. Then what you do, you push yourself a little bit harder, 73, 73, 73, 73. And your paradigm goes, all right, we'll move up a little bit. And it's just slow, little, tiny increments. And what happens is people learn this, and then I get messages, right? This is what happens, right? We get off of this call. All of you friend request me on Facebook because this is the way it always happens. And then I get messages of like, Rob, I'm so effed up now. I don't know what to do because of that. All of this, just, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? And it's like, I feel like I've been putting in work for the past, like I'll get messages in a couple of days. And like 2 days after I do a call, Rob, that was amazing. I learned so much. It was like the most eye-opening thing, but I've been working really hard on myself for the past 2 days, my paradigm for the past 2 days, and I still don't feel any different. I'm like, well, yeah, because you've been telling yourself the same story for 40 years. 2 days is not going to reverse that story. Of course you feel like a fraud, right? It takes time to change things. And we live in the age of immediate results. It happens right away, right? I can Google and find out how far the sun is from the earth right this second if I want to, right? For those of you guys looking at your faces, you guys all probably remember encyclopedias, right? You used to have to go to the library and hope to God that they actually had the letter that was correct that would tell you how far the sun is from the moon, right? Now everything's so immediate that like you expect it. Well, Rob, why is my paradigm change in 2 days? Why? Because you've probably been telling yourself the same thing for 30 or 40 years, whatever it is. So it takes time. Of course, you're going to feel like a fraud, but you have to get repetition of the way you speak to yourself. And you have to get repetition, and then you have to get the results that are better than you think that you are. You don't have to believe in yourself in order to create action. So that's what I got for you. Any questions? I've got a couple minutes. So if you guys have questions, you can put them over to the side. But the way that you overcome it is through willpower, right? And that's like, some of you guys are like, oh, what? Like, I can't like just like start believing in myself and it works. No, you have to actually do something and get off your ass and do it. And here's the thing that I love about it. And you don't have to believe in yourself in order to just do it. And I was at a point in my life where I was lucky, where I kind of had like a midlife crisis at 19 years old, where I was like, I don't believe in myself. I don't think I can do this knife selling job, but I know that there's other people that are 19, 20 years old making $1,000 a week. This is like my saving grace. Maybe if I put a lot of work in, this will work for me. Right. And it's the exact same thing where I was just like, I'm not smart enough to make the wheel up. I'm just going to do exactly what the most successful person that I know is doing. And I'm going to try to put more work into it than they are. And that's when the results just started happening. And then I started believing in myself more and more. I was terrible at public speaking. The very first time I'm like flashing back to my very first public speaking experience. It was so bad. Right. But I wouldn't have imagined that 3 years from then I'd be talking in front of 850 people and it would be exciting to me. Right. It was never that way. It's just something that you start to build up to. So, what other books do I recommend? Karen asks. If you want the top 10 books that I recommend, you can actually go to, I'll give you this. This is my mwfmotivation.com/book list. I'll send this link to you. So, that is the top 10 books that I recommend if you want to read them. I think you need to do a Zoom call with 7th grade students. Yeah, that would be good. Is it possible to have multiple paradigms, or are they all basically grouped into one main paradigm? Usually you can have multiple ones, but usually you have one worldview, right? Money is the exact example of this. I don't have time to talk about money, but like, I literally kid you not that you have a paradigm around money that is making you not make the money that you should. I swear to God, I'm 100% positive because I'm proof of this. And when I taught this when I taught the paradigm and how it works with money to my group coaching people, literally, I had one girl who's 22 years old saved $2,500 in 1 month because she was just able to reverse her way of thinking about money, right? We all have, not all of us, let me take that back. Most of us have a screwed up psychology of money, right? The way we think about money is extremely important. But most people have like a paradigm of their entire worldview, but then a lot of people have a paradigm of money as well, which usually deals with that entire worldview. So is it possible to have multiple paradigms? I'm sure that you could, but usually it deals with just one core feeling more than anything else. How important is it to develop why power, why you're doing something? That is the most important thing, right? And let me give you the example. If you guys don't cheat, if you've ever heard me say this in a podcast before, but I want to ask you guys a question. So power means like your why behind why you're doing something, I'm guessing. So if I were to ask you guys, what is the chance? And I want you to put it over to the side. What is the chance of you making $1 million legally by the end of 2017? Percentage chance, be completely honest, do not lie. What is the percentage chance of you making $1 million legally for 2017? Put it over to the side. 1%. All right, Corrine. 0. Kelly, 1%. Alyssa, 10%. 0%, 0, 2%. Okay? All right. You ready? I'm answering this question through questions. What's the percentage chance of you making $1 million legally by the end of the calendar year 2017? If you do not, your entire family and every single person that you love gets killed January 1st, 2018. What's the percentage chance of you making $1 million legally this year? $100, $100, $100, $1,000, $100, $100, $100, $500. Wow, look at that. You guys see this? What changed? Did the amount of money change? Nope. The amount of money didn't change. Did the time frame change? Nope, time frame didn't change. What changed? Your why. Why you're doing something. Right? And let me show you guys something real quick. If I can change your mindset literally in 15 seconds, that quickly, does that show you how much you limit your life every single day that you're alive? Right? A conversation with some random guy that you've probably never seen before just made you realize you can make $1 million this year if you really wanted to. Right? That just shows you how much you limit yourself on a daily basis. The why behind it is what changes it. So to answer the question, how much does it matter? It really matters a lot. Like, you have to have a very strong why behind what you're doing. So cool. So I've got that down. So I appreciate you guys. If you guys want to listen to my podcasts, it's MWF Motivation, stands for Monday, Wednesday, Friday Motivation. If for some reason I do this, just so you know, with all of the Beachbody people, because I have a lot of Beachbody people that I work with, I mentioned my group coaching a lot. If you guys, do you want me to put the discounted link in case you guys want to check out my group coaching? Because usually I give a 27% discount for group Beachbody people. Do you want that?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll put it over to the side in case you guys want to check it out. Don't share it with anybody outside of Beachbody though, because this is the Beachbody discount that I give people. So that explains my group coaching. This right here, to give you an idea, was one of my like 75 talks that I have in group coaching. And there's like 140 people that are in it. A lot of them are Beachbody and, you know, Wild Tree people and people from all walks of life. But it's just lessons of anything. I didn't come in on here to sell you guys anything, but if you do want to check it out, you can. But literally, like think about this for a second. Everything that you have in your life at the present moment is based on the way that you think about yourself, the way that you do things. And there is no one to blame but yourself, right? And this was a life-changing moment for me. When I was 19 years old, I paid $500 a month to, this is not a joke. I paid $500 a month as a 19-year-old to have a one-on-one coach. In the most, like, he changed my life in so many different ways. Cause you know, I went from making $17,000 to 2 years later, making $177,000 at 21. And it was, I would say the main reason was this guy. And what he told me was that I was not taking control of my life. I was giving excuses for why I was not where I wanted to be. I was giving excuses. It was always everybody else's fault. It was always an external thing. And he said, here's the deal. You need to take control of your life. You're the CEO of your life, right? If the CEO of a company, if a company fails, whose fault is it? It's the CEO's fault. If a company succeeds, whose fault is it? It's the CEO's fault. He said, you need to act like you're the CEO of your life. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your spouse's fault. It's not your mom. It's not your past. It's not your future. It's none of those things. Everything. If you get to the end of your life, as best as we know, we have one chance at this, right? If you get to the end of your life and it is not what you wanted it to be, it is 100% your fault. If you get to the end of your life and it is what you wanted it to be, it is 100% your fault. You are the person that's controlled it. So, so that is what I have for you guys. Oh, also, I completely forgot about. So there's that, and I also have a webinar that's free if you guys want to join in. I'll put that up here as well for those of you guys that are interested, which is free. I'm going to talk about how to hack your brain. So there's 2 links. One of them is group coaching discount in case you're interested, and the other one is the webinar, which is on Thursday evening. So that's all I got for you guys. So if you need anything, reach out to me. But I hope this helps you guys out a lot.
Thank you so much, Rob. That was freaking phenomenal. And usually I'm the only one that can make these girls cry. So thanks for that.
Oh, I can make you guys cry. I know how to, but that's the thing. If you want to make it, if you really want to change something, when someone asks how important is the why, usually if I'm on a first phone call with someone, there's a good chance they're going to cry, and because I'm going to find that strong emotional attachment to their goal. And if I can find that strong emotional attachment to their goal, it's a pretty damn good chance I'm going to help them hit that goal. And so that's why I brought up because it's easy with everybody. What's the chance of your whole family's life is online? It's easy. It's just about hacking your brain. So, so let me know if you guys need anything, but that's all I got for you.
Thank you so much. I have one favor to ask.
Yes.
First, I'm going to end the recording, and I always do this awkwardly. So if you're watching the recording, thanks for watching the recording.